With me. You can watch the interview in its entirety. Just go to CNN.com. But let me just bring more of our guests back in to parse through some of what he said. Boyce Watkins, the founder of YourWorld.com, Angela Rye, former executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Tara Setmayer with Real News on the Blaze. Welcome to all of you. And Tara, just you listened to Charles. You've been listening to our greater discussion about Eric Garner. Your thoughts?
Well, I think Charles Barkley makes some very reasonable and honest observations that no one else really wants to have in this conversation. What he's saying is absolutely true. But because emotions have run so high, because you have so many race agitators out there that have a bigger agenda, no one wants to hear the facts of what's going on. No one wants to consider the other mitigating factors that contribute to these circumstances oftentimes. They do not happen in a vacuum. What happened with Michael Brown did not happen in a vacuum. You know, Charles Barkley was honest enough to say that he didn't know some of the facts about Michael Brown being in the car, or the fact that the blood splatter showed that he came back toward the officer, or that there were black witnesses who corroborated Darren Wilson's story. He said, you know, the media didn't really report on those things. Yeah, there's a certain responsibility here to make sure that the facts of what happened went on were told.
He told me he didn't want to talk about it until the grand jury decision was made public, because he wanted to read. He said he wanted to read, and he said that's the problem with a lot of our society, that a lot of us jump to conclusions.
That's right.
And we make up our minds.
You make snap judgments, and then you see what it foments this kind of mob mentality where the facts don't matter anymore, and then policy and decisions are made as a result of that, and that's when things become dangerous. And I think what Charles Barkley, the point that he was making, I think is fair. It's a fair and reasonable point to make.
Angela, you were shaking your head. Weigh in for me.
On the whole thing, I think I want to start with Charles Barkley, who said that there are times where it's okay to racially profile and times when it's not. It is never okay to racially profile. There is nothing about this Eric Garner situation that makes this a justifiable homicide. That officer did not act justifiably. I know that in this country at this point we have law enforcement officers that fully believe that being black is crime and violence enough. It is not, and it is time out for that type of policy shaping and making. The president spent his Monday with young protesters from Ferguson. He spent his Monday with faith leaders and law enforcement officers and those protesters trying to figure out how we get to yes, how we make this country better for everyone here, not just for the folks who wear a uniform, but for the folks that they are so-called supposed to be patrolling. It is becoming overtly violent. We have watched this go downhill from Trayvon Martin, when at first it was justifiable because he was just an ordinary citizen who was afraid, and now we see this Mike Brown case, and now Eric Garner. It is getting progressively worse, and it is 2014, and it is long after the Civil Rights Act, and it is time for us to see very, very different consequences. This is over the top.
Making all your points, just because I was sitting there with him, Charles said he didn't say it was okay to racially profile. He just said there is some basis in racial profiling because there are some bad apples everywhere. That was what he was doing.
We do with terrorism. We do it with terrorism. So, I mean, they're
and that's not okay
profile
either,
based
Tara.
on data. Yes, give me a break. So you think an 8-year-old child should be profiled in, I mean, it's okay for them to be patted down in an airport, or a 90-year-old grandmother? I mean, they profile in Israel for a reason. There's data. There's data behind it.
Racially profile anyone. I don't care if you are
high crime areas, there is a reason behind it.
No, ma'am. That does not make that.
You're
exactly right, and you're not making perfect sense. What I'm telling you is that there is
if 90% of the crimes are committed by a certain amount of people, then it makes sense to you. Those are the people you're getting your
statistics from the O'Reilly factor.
I'm getting the statistics. FBI uniform crime report.
And even that you should know is self-reported, Tara. That's self-reported data, and as you know, people
from police departments.
Up to them.
So you're questioning the FBI uniformed crime report?
No, I'm telling you it's self-reported. Listen to what I said.
I heard you.
Boyce,
and it's
you
the FBI uniform crime
look
report.
perplexed listening to this back and forth. I'd love to hear from you.
Well, you know, I think that what we have to start off with is we have to realize what message we're sending with this non-indictment in both cases. Basically, with the Eric Garner case, what makes it so incredulous is that we're basically saying that you can kill a black man in broad daylight with dozens of witnesses on camera and not even have a trial. not a conviction, not even have a trial. I mean, what kind of message does that really send, particularly to young black people? Because you can't get into this whole idea that, oh, he was a criminal, he might have been selling stolen cigarettes. Obviously, we know that that's not worth the death penalty. But then also, you have to ask yourself, okay, this interaction, it did go bad, but racial profiling is where it all began. Because understand this, you've got wealthy white guys right on Wall Street that are stealing billions of dollars. They're carrying cocaine in their pockets, but guess what? They'll never be convicted of those crimes because police aren't following them around and asking them, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Who are you with? Where are you going? What are you up to? And so the fact is that what we have to really be concerned about as a country right now is that we've gone beyond the days where you can kill black people and not have black people respond. Black people are now fighting back. Black people are no longer afraid to speak up and stand out. And I think that that's something that really speaks to the idea that the president and Congress have to create some sort of modification in the law so that equity is in existence for everybody. Because right now we know that that's not the case.
But where's all this righteous indignation with all of the black-on-black violence? And this is very important. You say Black Lives Matter. Don't know you want me. This is the truth. Where these riots and where is this righteous indignation with the kids that are mowed down in Chicago every day or on the streets of LA or here in New York and Brooklyn or South Bronx? Where are the marches there? That's where there's a significant problem. There is not
I live in Chicago. I live in Chicago where there's a lot of violence and we have lots of marches.
More than white cops killing black kids. I've got news for you.
Minister Louis Farrakhan is consistently involved in this. Father Michael Pfleger. There are tons of people in Chicago fighting against black-on-black crime. But police brutality is a second issue. We have to deal with that issue. Look, my dad was a cop.
It's a smaller issue compared to the level of violence black on black.
I have respect for good cops, but I also know that many officers end up thinking that they are above the law. They sometimes think that, look, if you don't do what I say, then I have the right to do whatever I want to you. And we know that police brutality is very, very real. You should not have a segment of the population that is afraid of the police. But if you go talk to many black men, I'm talking about good, law-abiding young black men who would never hurt anybody, many of them are afraid of the cops. Why do we have that in existence in this world? Because these laws were never designed to protect people of color in the first place. That's something you have to deal with. So stop lying to yourself.
Moreover, the black-on-black crime thing is a false equivalency argument here. You know that. You know that black-on-black crime has gone down over the last 20 years. I'm not going to let you do this without that.
And you're still more likely to get shot as a black person by another black person than you are by a white police officer.
At the end of the day, what I'm not going to allow you to say is, number one, these people are rioting. This is righteous anger displayed by most of these people. You're not going to get to say.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I said by most of these people, the folks who were sitting down with the president were not the looters. They were the organizers who were peacefully protesting. You don't get to say here that there's this huge problem with black-on-black crime that people are not working diligently every day to address. It's not true. I'm not going to let you lie to me today. It's not going to happen.
So how do we, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to all three of you, and I respect